Yeah, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All the brothers here in Musalla An-Nur, as well as all those who are listening on YouTube. Alhamdulillah, we are very fortunate today in the month of Ramadan to have with us Dr. Samir al-Sharghawi. Alhamdulillah, Dr. um, born in Homs, Syria, is a consultant interventional cardiologist. Alhamdulillah, doctor qualified in medicine in Syria, then trained here in the UK. Alhamdulillah, he's been working here in the northwest of England since 2011. The following year in 2012, Alhamdulillah, doctor, he started to volunteer with a charity, Save Our World, Alhamdulillah, which is a charity that does a lot of work in Syria and a few other countries around the world. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh has had the very good fortune and experience of visiting SHAAM and the blessed lands, Alhamdulillah, after the freedom of its people, Alhamdulillah. So we invite Dr. Samir, inshallah, to give us his eyewitness account of his experience in Sham, inshallah. Hayakallah, Dr. Samir.
حياك الله شيخ عبد الله جزاك الله خير عبد الله for the invitation. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Dear brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for being here today and for the listeners on YouTube as well for tuning in. Mulana Abdullah asked me to talk about Syria, and I'm sure so many of you have heard the recent news about the Syrian issue and what we call it the liberation of Syria. Now, I've told Mulana Abdullah before that I'm not used to talking about in Zoom. Normally I have talks with people around me, but this time it's going to be different. So bear with me if I get stuck or have a bit of pauses, but I'll try not to. So Alhamdulillah, we are talking about Syria. Syria is part of Bilad al-Sham, and Bilad al-Sham consists of Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and some of Jordan and Palestine. So this land has had its place in the Islamic history from the early times of Nabiullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when our beloved Rasul mentioned Sham in so many hadith that are all like Sahih hadith Sahihah, and he mentioned the Sham when he was still in Medina. The Muslims at the time have no connection to Sham apart from the trade connection that Quraysh used to do with the trade every year. And yet Rasulullah sallallahu attributed the Sham to many virtues. I'm sure most of you know the hadith such as Tuba al-Sham, and the angels of Ar-Rahman have their wings over Sham. And then another hadith where Rasulullah said the pillars of Iman has been sent to Sham. And another hadith when it says, إِذَا فَسَدَ أَهْلُ الشَّامِ فَلَا خَيْرَ فِيكُمْ. If people of Sham have become corrupted, there is no khair in you, in Ummah. And that's, as I said, before even Sham became a Muslim country. Now, Hazrat Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he sent the Muslims to liberate Sham from, at that time, Roman Empire, and to spread Islam in Sham. And Alhamdulillah, since then, Sham has become an Islamic land. And because of its virtues and because of its nature, hundreds of Sahabas remained in this land, in Sham, and passed away in the Sham. In my city, for example, Homs, we have Sayyidina Khalid ibn Walid, the grave, where there's a mosque nearby, his son Abdul Rahman, many other Sahabas such as Thawban radiallahu anhu, Amr ibn Ma'dika radiallahu anhu, and many others. In Kathib area, this is a qabristan, a graveyard in Homs. There is more than 700 Sahabis buried there, which has been the second largest graveyard to have Sahabis after Baqiyah in Medina. So over the history, the land of Sham remained under the Islamic rule until really last century, when in 1920, the French conquered Sham, especially Syria, following the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Sham then has been divided into these countries that we know now: Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine. The French eventually went out of Syria in 1946, alhamdulillah. I mean, Syrians made so much struggle to allow that. But through this period, they managed to open the door for non-Muslims or anti-Muslims to enter the army that later became the army of the country. And the same people, most of them, they also entered the Ba'ath Party that was newly established then at that time in the middle of last century. And this Ba'ath Party, through the help of the army, did a coup in 1963 and took power from the post-occupation governments. And since then, Syrians' life have changed forever. And you can tell from the start that these people have no respect to humanity, no respect to people, no respect to Deen of Islam, and that's the most important bit. Amongst these people was Assad, the father of Bashar al-Assad, the last president of Syria. His name was Hafiz al-Assad. I mean, his name is Hafiz not because of his Hafiz of Quran. It's just his name is Hafiz. So he was one of these commanders of this coup and became the defense minister shortly afterwards. And in 1967, he all Syrians believe that he surrendered the Golan Heights to the Israelis at the time. And in exchange, he was allowed to do yet another coup against his friends, and he became the president of Syria in 1970. Now, Syrian people felt shortly afterwards that they're facing a government, a rule, who really is non-Islamic and anti-Islamic. No prayers were allowed in the army, for example, or at schools, or any public spaces. You cannot just pray in universities. We used to hide in hiding places to pray, and so many times you just have to miss your prayer because of this. They will have no regards to massages. I mean, they attack massages in Hama and in Homs, in different cities, because when people sort of like demonstrated there inside the masjid peacefully, this is not back in sort of like early 1970s. They banned headscarves in women. I mean, in our women in Homs, for example, they have no right to wear headscarves in schools. There's one infamous incident where the regime sent troops and they actually took headscarves from women's head in Damascus and Latakia. These incidents led to a significant unrest in people's heart, and there was eventually a small uprising that started in Syria, but was focused mainly in the city of Hama in 1982. In this uprising, there was some small group that took arms, and that was used by the regime at the time to crush all Muslims based on this excuse of that small group took arm. So the whole city of Hama in 1982 was really demolished. I mean, they attacked the city because this group was inside the city of Hama. There were probably 200 to 300 people. But what they've done, they surrounded the city with the tanks and the army. And within 4 weeks, they actually killed around 40,000 people. That's including women and children. And they destroyed most of the city of Hama. And that managed to scare people off and really shut down all kind of possible resistance or possible sort of like and acceptance of this regime. Shortly after, they done the infamous massacre of Tadmur prison, when they killed within half an hour 1,000 people, prisoners, who were these prisoners were not like prison because of the criminals. These prisoners were arrested by the regime because they're proper Muslims, the true good Muslims, essentially, because the regime started to use this or adopt this policy of arresting people randomly, and everyone basically, if you are a friend of someone who's arrested, you get arrested automatically. So tens of thousands of people were arrested within these 2 3 years, and that finished off all sort of like, as I said, resistance or acceptance to and acceptance to the regime. Now, as the father passed away, Bashar, his son came in 2000. Things continued, so much poverty, lack of freedom, until 2011, when the Arab Spring started. And the Syrians did not believe that they would be able to uprise or stood up. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has different plans. So in the small city of Daraa, there was few kids, and they wrote on the school walls, on their school walls, that down to Assad, and إجاك الدور يا دكتور. That means your turn is coming soon, Assad. And that was enough for the whole state to be on alert. And they were after these kids, and they arrested them, and they tortured them. Their families came to ask for their release. There was so much problem because they said no, and they insulted the family significantly. And that led to demonstration on the street in Daraa, and the regime faced that with live fires, live bullets, and they killed 52 people instantly. This actually was the spark of the Syrian Spring, Arab Spring, if you like, or the revolution, we call it. This revolution very quickly spread to my city, Homs, and to other cities as well, and were very much peaceful demonstration at the start. The ulamas of Homs, I know they actually met Assad, and they demanded, they had 16 points. They demanded, for example, to have like the freedom of prayer, freedom of speech, freedom of conducting like da'wah, and all of these were completely ignored. And the Assad regime started to crush on people with iron fist. So in my city again, we have a massacre in April 2011. So remember, the first demonstration was in March 2011. A month later, in April, we called the Clock Square massacre, where basically people demonstrated again peacefully, around like 20,000 of them. And then at night, 3,000 decided to stay in the square, and the security forces came in and they killed 293 people within 3 hours. They basically opened fire on them, and they started also to have elsewhere massacres elsewhere, like in Banyas, for example, when they also killed like kids and children. In Al Hula, this is a small town close to my city, where they entered at night, and they killed around 113 people, including 39 kids and around like 40 women. And this was with they literally with cutting their throat off. I mean, that's the way they killed them, and it became like massacre after massacre. And then they started to adopt this policy of kidnapping and torturing, and there's so many videos on YouTube you can watch if you wish, or probably you don't need to, of people, for example, being buried alive. I mean, the very famous videos where a few videos where basically they're burying people, and that you say La ilaha illa Bashar or La illa Assad, and they said La ilaha illallah, and they actually kept throwing sand on them until they buried them alive. There are so many atrocities these guys have done. For example, raping women, but guess where? In masajids. And guess what? They actually turned the speaker up, and they let the whole town know that they're raping women in masajids. It's just like this kind of atrocities. I mean, it's beyond imagination. I don't know how do you call these people? It's beyond imagination. We have videos where to show that they actually, some of these people who get killed, they're butchered literally by their killers, and they're setting people to fire, setting homes to fire, and that actually led the Syrian people, or some of them, to have arms, and led the army itself to have defectors. So people started to defect the army, and people started to defend themselves, and this led to an armed struggle. And and the armed struggle, instead of the regime went down and just said, okay, well, let's just talk. No, they escalated, and now they are asking warplanes to come in, tanks to come in, and not even then, they asked actually also to for militias from around the world to come in to kill Syrian people. So unfortunately, they have militias that are supported by Iran, and including Hezbollah, and then they could not control the area, the country that was really on fire. Now everyone, the fear has gone completely out of people's hearts, and everyone just started to oppose the regime, or the vast majority of Syrians, and the Iran had to come in, and they came in literally or officially with their national guard and the army, and then they also couldn't control things. So the Russians have been asked in 2015 to come in, and they came in with the Russian power. The things have become like status quo, and the regime started to give some more lands, because at that time the vast majority of Syria were completely out of the regime's hand, and uh, and they continue to do atrocities such as the firing chemical weapons on people. In Al Ghouta, for example, they killed 1,300 people, including kids and women and men, who were asleep in a chemical weapon, and so forth. So, subhanAllah, that led to this struggle, led to people of Mujahideen, we call them, people of struggle. They had to sit in an area, that liberated area in Idlib. They were pushed to that area, and they, alhamdulillah, managed to sit and prepare. And they lost significant amount of land in 2019, 2020. Since then, they've made really proper preparation to fight back. Alhamdulillah, they have they established their own government in that land. They established da'wah, they established deen. People were happy. This land, province of Idlib, used to have around 100, the city itself had around 100,000 inhabitants, and the surrounding city probably up to 1 million, even less than that. But by the time in 2020 and more, around like 5 million people, Syrians, were actually displaced to this place. Everyone had ran out of their life. And we have 12 millions displaced elsewhere as well, including Europe and Turkey and Arab countries, and all over the world as well. So, Alhamdulillah, probably have heard Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused the asbab. So, these the things changed in the landscape in the Middle East, and Iran has weakened, and Russia also has been occupied in Ukraine. So, that subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, allowed the Mujahideen to prevail. And they stood really, the whole people stood, kept sort of like with patience until this moment came in. And Alhamdulillah, they launched an attack, and within 11 days, Alhamdulillah, thumma Alhamdulillah, the regime crippled, and basically they were defected, and Assad, the president, ran away, and his people like disarrayed. So Alhamdulillah, the Muslims have retook their own land in SHAAM. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. This victory came with a heavy, very heavy price. The official UN figures of martyrs who've been killed, around like 600,000, but we know that's more than a million. 180 to 200,000 people were arrested in different prisons around Syria. And probably the most infamous one is called Sidnaya prison, where the torture is significant. After the Fatah, alhamdulillah, only 7,000 prisoners were found, but the rest vanished, perished. So they're probably in like these massive graves that we discover every now and again. And now we've inherited a completely destroyed and crippled country. In my city, for example, Homs, 70% of the city is completely destroyed. The homes are inhabitable. People want to go back, but they have no homes to go back to, if you like. Similar things took place in different areas in Al Ghouta that surrounds Damascus. There's again in places in Al Ghouta called Joba, for example, or Al Qabun, the complete destruction of the whole building. So this is societies where you used to have like hundreds of thousands of people, complete destruction in the buildings as the schools and everything, basically. Similarly in Daraya, Ma'arat al-Rahman, Khan Sheikhoun, the outskirts of Aleppo, I mean, and so forth. So the country is completely destroyed now. There are no more trees, for example. There is no agriculture. There's not much of trade. People are in significant need and poverty. No fuel, and no electricity. When I went there only 4 weeks ago, in my parents' home, we have electricity on 45 minutes every 12 hours. So that's the status. People have to live with this. And imagine that your electricity is on at your home only for 45 minutes, less than an hour every 12 hours. You cannot do anything really. So so despite this gloomy picture, um, I cannot tell you how much joyful the people are. They're really very much happy. Alhamdulillah. They are as if they were sentenced to death or to life imprisonment, and they were sent to a cave and locked in, and they have no hope at all in this cave. This is the people who were sat under the regime rule. And Alhamdulillah, someone came in and opened the door for them. And suddenly light has come in. Yes, they know they're miserable. Yes, they know that they have, they're poor. But now the hope is so high. And that's why you can see people like really working like bees now, trying to rebuild the society, rebuild the towns, rebuild their neighborhoods, and move forward with their lives. Alhamdulillah. So the few things that have been identified as important things to do really is rebuilding the whole country. But for us, is what's really important is dawah. And alhamdulillah, that so many bodies have started that because obviously the regime within 53 years, 60 years, they try to keep people away from deen as much as possible. But alhamdulillah, fitra is there, fitra of people, fitra is there, and they're coming back to deen very, very fast. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So dawah is important. All everyone who can help with ideas, with professionally on their own profession, please, I think that the Syrian people really need the whole ummah to help them out. That's what we need. We need the Muslims to help out, alhamdulillah. And also education is very important. And I cannot stress how important it is because it is the future we're talking about. It is basically the young generation who need to be empowered, who need to be educated, both in ulum al-dunya, but more importantly with deen as well. This is why in our world, and I'm sure Mullah Abdullah probably has alluded to this, we have so many projects, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, project in Ramadan and every time or the rest of the year were to feed the needy and support people, the poor people. But also we have different also projects like planting trees. But I think one of the most projects that we have is education. We've been actually working on education before in the liberated area, and now we want to extend, alhamdulillah, to the rest of the country. And our model that we think is like a combined school that have a school and madrasa at the same time, and that would hopefully help the young generation of Syria to come up strong and help the country and lead their people and the ummah bi'idhnillah ta'ala. I think probably my time is up now, Mawlana Abdullah, so it's back to you. Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dr. Samir, Jazakallah khair, alhamdulillah, for that insight. it's heart-wrenching of the stories that you are narrating to us, subhanallah. For the last 50, 60 years, the oppression that the people have gone through, subhanallah, and the sabr that they've taken, like from what I heard from Sheikh Amjad, who is the founder of Save Our World, saying that there's probably not even one family in the whole of Syria who hasn't lost someone, or somebody, if a member of their family hasn't gone to prison or been oppressed in some way. Every single person has been affected and by the previous regime. And we say, Alhamdulillah, Shukr Allah, that Alhamdulillah, the land has been liberated by the people, Alhamdulillah. Um, Looking at the struggles of the people of Syria, from what I've been told, Syria is also a land that, something that really came as a shock to me, has oil, has natural resources. However, the oil that's being sold and people can buy, it's very scarce, and from what I recall, cost about £1 20 pence a litre. That's very close to the price that we pay here in England, whereas Syria is an oil producing country and it's still so expensive. So it just shows that the whole infrastructure of the whole country has just been dilapidated for half a century. The whole infrastructure. So Alhamdulillah, this is why we are urging the people of England and the world, Alhamdulillah, to support this newly liberated, Alhamdulillah, country. Like Sheikh Amjad was saying as well, the 2 million or so Syrian refugees all around the world are flocking back, Alhamdulillah, want to go back home to Syria. But the unfortunate thing is, do they even have a home to go to? Have they even seen the city, the town that they used to live in? They'll be completely shocked to realize, many of them, that there's nothing there, but they still want to go, it's still home for them. They still want to return back, Alhamdulillah, and we wish and we hope and we make dua that they do get back, go back and rebuild their life. But Alhamdulillah, so we have Save Our World, and Dr. Samir is also a volunteer for Save Our World charity, Alhamdulillah. They do many short-term projects and long-term projects. In the month of Ramadan, we have the Dates project where, Alhamdulillah, 20 kgs of dates is given per family to break their fast, Alhamdulillah, and that lasts them for the whole month. We have the Ramadan food parcels for £35, the orphan and widow sponsorships for £25 a month. But as Dr. Samir said, this is a nation that we need to help rebuild the whole infrastructure, not just a short-term project. So a long-term project is the education. You provide education to a people, and Alhamdulillah, over the decades, Alhamdulillah, they will grow. The people themselves will grow. So we are trying to establish an Islamic school and madrasa, Alhamdulillah. And from what I understand, Sheikh Doctor, you can correct me, that we already have many of these madrasas in Idlib already that was liberated a few years prior. So
Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah,
that's fine.
is that
I
correct?
mean, the Idlib that was liberated in 2016, over the years, there were around like 45 schools of similar schools, and they actually serve 25,000 students, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. And the number of Hafiz, Quran and Hadith in Idlib is, mashallah, phenomenal, mashallah. And we hope that's going to be extended to the whole of the country, in Allah Ta'ala.
Inshallah. So I'll hope here in Musalla and Noor, and whoever else is listening, that we can fund one of these schools. So it's already an operated, experienced system that's already been running, but we hope to extend that hopefully throughout the whole of Syria. So even if we can pledge to finance at least one school, and then inshallah the second and the third and the fourth, inshallah, but minimum, inshallah, we're looking for at least 50 brothers or sisters to donate just £10 a month as a standing order, because projects like these, they need sustainability. So if you can commit to at least £10 a month, inshallah, for long term, then we know that, yes, alhamdulillah, we have the finance ready to establish one school. Once that one school is ready, hopefully we can then think about the second and the third, inshallah.
بإذن الله مولانا، إن شاء الله this will be صدقة جارية بإذن الله تعالى إن شاء الله.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. Once again, I know it's the month of Ramadan and we're very close to the time of iftar. We ask all the brothers and sisters listening to make dua, especially for the brothers and sisters in Syria, subhanallah. Like you mentioned, many brothers and sisters have lost their lives. We find bones in graves and masajid and all the places. We make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts all of them and give them the rank of shuhada, inshallah, and give sabr jameel to the families and all those who want to rebuild their lives back in Syria. Allah make it easy for them, inshallah, and may Allah reward and protect Dr. Samir and his family as well, inshallah.
جزاك الله خير.
Jazakallah khair. Dr.
حياك
Samir,
الله.
assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام. And
Warahmatullahi
send my regards
wabarakatuh.
to all Muslims. جزاك الله خير for everyone.
Inshallah, jazakallah khair, inshallah.
حياكم الله. السلام
Assalamu
عليكم.
alaikum,
السلام
hayakallah.
عليكم. السلام.